Hello, good morning, Laura. We have Laura White this morning on the BTS Creative Academy podcast. Laura is a business development director at Pop Up Global. So we're going to have a chat this morning. I'm hoping to find out a little bit where creativity and business kind of meet. See if we can discover something about that there. Yeah. So good morning, Laura. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, doing good. So where are we this morning? I know that sometimes you spend a lot of time in Dubai, sometimes you're in the UK.
I'm in Dubai at the minute. So I am in the very, very hot weather. It started to get hot with the summer. So it's not as enjoyable as it is normally. You have to stay inside quite a lot, but still the sun is shining, so I can't complain.
Yeah, I do miss the sun. Like here in the UK recently, it's just been so grey.
Everybody that I know has said that. They're like, it's been the worst year ever. And I'm like, I can't relate.
Yeah. No. Do you have any sympathy though? Do you have any sympathy for
Do
it?
you know what I do? Because I think I found that since I've moved here, I'm so much more productive because of the weather. Like it has such an impact. You know, like people talk about SAD
Yes.
syndrome. I 100% think it's a thing because the amount of work that I can get done here is so much more than at home. Because I was at home last week and I was working whilst I was at home, and it's just you don't have as much like get up and go when the sun isn't shining. I can't explain it really, but
It gives you a boost, doesn't it?
Pardon?
It gives you a boost, doesn't it?
Oh, 100%. Waking up to sunshine, it definitely helps. So anybody that watches this, strongly recommend moving somewhere sunny.
Yes, yeah. Well, I think that's the goal for me. Once the podcast takes off, I'm getting into that sunnier climate. I promise you.
Yeah, I think you should. It'll definitely be worth it.
Yeah. It's been far too long for a bit of sun. So what's happening in Dubai at the moment? So you work for a company called Pop Up Global, where you're the
Yes.
business development director. Tell me a little bit about Pop Up Global first of all.
Okay, so we are an entertainment production company and we create bespoke entertainment productions and programs for clients across various industries. So leisure, hospitality, retail, cruise. So we sort of work with clients on a one-to-one basis to build entertainment that's specifically for them. So we aren't an agency. We don't have like acts on our books that we sell the same thing to different people. Everything we do is created around each client's vision, goal, demographic, budget. So it leads to like a really quite interesting job for all of us, really, because every day is different. And I know a lot of people say that every day is different, but really it is. Like I was working on a cruise RFP last week. Today I'll be working on an ice skating show proposal. Tomorrow it'll be something different. Next week it'll be something completely different. So it's all these different balls that we're kind of juggling at the same time, which really keeps you on your toes, but keeps the job really interesting.
Is it essentially a production company? So
Yeah.
So you and you're the producers of
Yes, so we create it all in-house. So we bring in the creatives, different creatives for different things, depending what the project is, to create each program or production from scratch. So the music, the choreography, the costume, we cast as well. So we've got a casting department, and we now have a casting product that we're also now selling to other people because we're really well known in the industry for our really amazing casting experience. And I was going to say our great casting, but it's less about, obviously we work with incredible talent, but all of us are ex-performers. So we've been at the other side of an audition. So the audition experience that we create is so different to anything I experienced anyway when I was working in the industry. We're really well known for that. So now we're starting to do that as a product as well, which is going down really, really well. It's good to have that pop-up vibe in the audition room.
What is that product then? How is the audition process a product?
It's just the way in which we deliver auditions. I think the key thing is what we've learned from being at the other side, so being on the auditionee side, is that auditions are scary. It's terrifying. It's worse than a job interview. Anyone that's not in the industry will never get how intense going to an audition is. You question every decision you've ever made, the way you look, how talented you are, who you are as a person, like all of those things are going around in your mind. And ultimately you're battling it out against 100 other people in the room.
They're all doing the same thing.
all of them doing the same thing, all of them great, and it's like the Hunger Games, like
Mhm.
it's intense. So what we do is we just create, and it's so simple and it's free. We create just a really, really fun, light-hearted environment when you're relaxed and you from a panel perspective, sorry, when you're
Mhm.
relaxed, when you're sort of chilled and low key and fun, that feeds into the people that are auditioning. And also, it's the thing, if people are great and if people come into the room and they give energy and they have a good time and they give it their all, we have a great time and we don't hold back from that. So you'll often see us as the panel up on our feet, dancing, singing along, having a great time, filming it on our Instagram. We get involved because and it's genuine as well. It's not a thing that we never did it on purpose. It's just what our auditions have always been like. But the feedback we get after our auditions, we did a casting last week. We had 120 people came to the audition, and probably 25% of those reached out 5 days later on Instagram or on socials or on emails just to say thank you. They had an amazing day. It was so good. Like the en- environment was amazing. I was so relaxed. And I think that's kind of summarizes it, the fact that people, like, I never went to an audition and then got in touch with them after. I had an amazing day. Whether I get the job or not, thank you so much. Because most of the time, if I'm being honest, I didn't have an amazing day. I went back on the bus home, on the mega bus, questioning everything about my life. So it's amazing that we sort of create those environments. And do you know what? We love it as well. There's nothing like being in an audition room when everyone's having a great time and
Yeah.
they're so talented. And the talent now out there is unbelievable. So yeah, so that's why we started sort of doing that as an offering to our other suppliers and to clients as well.
I think that's wonderful that you've taken this from a place of experience, that
Mm.
you've been a performer, which as performers, when we're in the audition space, we forget then people behind the panel might have some experience,
Yeah.
that they may have been the ones being the auditionees at
Yeah.
some point. It's very easy for us to forget that in the audition room, and that
But
you've taken your experience of being one of those auditionees and you've transformed it into being a better space for the newcomers.
100%. And I think sometimes auditions can feel quite corporate. It can
Mhm.
be very serious. There's not much interaction with the people that are auditioning. And it has that like corporate, these people that are on the panel seem like, not like people to you when you're auditioning. They seem like this,
Mm.
like, oh my God, these people are going to give me a job and they're so important. Actually, we're all just people. We've all
Yeah.
stood where you've stood. And I think it's about breaking down that barrier of people that are auditioning for you, knowing that you are just the same. In the same way that they're selling themselves as a product, we do that for our clients. It's exactly the same. And
Mm.
it's nerve wracking. Like, I still get nervous before I go into a big meeting with a CEO or whoever it might be, in the exact same way that I used to get nervous when I was going into the audition room. So it's like really relatable. And I think it's just about being open and honest in that conversation. We've all been there, and can be the worst experience ever,
Mhm.
but it also can be a great experience. And ultimately, you're there to show off who you are and what you can do. So if you can make people comfortable enough to be able to do that and be open and honest with who they are, you get the best out of them, and therefore you get the best talent. It all is like a circle. We always say this, it's all part of one circle that we're constantly working around. If you look after your performers and you treat them well and they enjoy that what they're doing, they work hard. They work hard, the client's happy. The client's happy, they book you again. If they book you again, that performer has another job, and it's just this constant cycle. And it all just comes down to, I think, authenticity and being nice in what can be a really brutal industry.
Yes.
Um, so that is kind of what we do. I was going to say try to do, but we don't try. We do it.
Yeah, I've looked into Pop Up Global, and I can see that the company is making efforts to change the industry. They're not just looking to put on a show. They're not
No,
just looking to turn up and entertain. They're looking to make a difference. And so
100%.
where do you fit into that making a difference? Where what is your role within that change?
So my role is more client facing.
Mhm.
So I create concepts for clients, convince those clients to book and buy those concepts.
Mhm.
And then that's kind of where the performer journey begins. But what we do is, I don't want to say preach, because preach makes it sound quite, it is can be a negative word, but we do talk a lot about our company culture,
Mhm.
both to performers, but in a big way to our clients. For us, it's really important that anybody that we work with falls in line with our values. And obviously, a big one of those is looking after people. So that is something we speak to all of our clients about. We make sure that we're all on the same page. We have a happiness budget within all of our contracts, and that's something that is mandatory to clients and for performers. So everybody gets to experience our happiness program, which is a big part of the performer experience at Pop Up.
And
So that's
why do you have that? Why do you have that happiness program?
it came off the back of uh, the management team is from a cruise ship background, and I don't know how much you know about the cruise industry, but you do sort of like an 8 to 12 week sometimes rehearsal process where you're in the studio 6 days a week. Depending who you work for, it can be like 12-hour days, 14-hour days, working. It's really hard, really
Mhm.
fulfilling, amazing, a lot of fun, but it is strenuous.
Different.
And
And
then
that's
that
why you're quite trapped in a small
it's
group, and there's
sometimes,
no
do you know
space.
what? I'd say that bit is kind of where the fun bit, because you're learning so
Oh,
much. But
really?
then you come to
Mhm.
the cruise contract, and then depending again what ship you work for, what format it is, that can be a 6-month contract to a 10-month contract or a year contract. And that period you're sort of on the ship, again working really hard. You do 2 shows a night. Sometimes when I was on ships, I was doing 6 nights a week, 2 shows a night with cabarets on top of that. It's a lot. And we all experienced, so I had an amazing time when I worked at sea. I loved it. It was incredible. I met some amazing people that are still in my life today. But it is really hard. You're very isolated from the rest of the world. You're working super hard all the time. It's strenuous on your voice, on your body, all of those things. And if you aren't looked after by the people that you work for, it can sometimes take the joy out of it. And that
Mhm.
is what a lot of us experienced at sea from some companies that we work for. And I think that experience is something that stuck with us all. And Amy, who's our CEO and founder, she's always been really passionate about making sure that anybody that works for us has the very best time possible. It won't always be easy. You will sometimes have to be in the studio for 10 hours if the show's not right, or whatever that might be. You might have to do 2 shows a night in a cabaret. There will be times where it's hard, but we want to make sure that where possible, we are looking after people as much as we can. So when we won our first cruise contract with Fred Olsen in 2019, but obviously COVID put a pause to it.
Mhm.
We started our happiness and wellbeing program. So that program has lots of perks. So we have sort of something that we do for the team every week in rehearsals. And then they have access to a free counsellor at any time, and that's completely anonymous. So anybody, if they ever feel like they need to talk to somebody, they can call our counsellor. It's absolutely free. They can stay with that counsellor every week for the whole contract if they need to or they want to. And there's lots of different elements of it. And I guess it's just something that helps along the way. And it's not just cruise contracts. We do it on a smaller scale for sort of one-off events and things like that. We want everyone to feel part of, this is cheesy and I'm going to hate myself for saying it, but part of the family. And it really is that. From a
Mhm.
management perspective, we are a team, we're a family, and we want our
You
clients.
you work with people, you're very close, aren't you? When you're working with a team, and when
Mhm.
you're creating these projects, you're going to spend a lot of time with them. So I don't think there is anything cheesy in saying it, you become a family.
Yeah, and
You
it's true.
and
But go on.
yeah, if you don't become a family, I think that's where there's something wrong. I think
Exactly.
that's something's not work when something's not working in the process
And
is when you're
especially
not.
with a long-term contract, these performers are going to be working with that team including rehearsals, for about 10 months. It's a long time to be with one group of people, but they do become family. And so whatever we can do to sort of just make them enjoy themselves as much as they can. And it's not always as easy as that. Obviously, everyone has personal things going on, or there might be some coronavirus goes around the ship and everything. I mean, hopefully not anymore. Or like something happens where things change. It's not always easy. That's life. But we try our best to support people as much as we can. And I think it's very much a passion of Amy's to not just do it for pop-up, but to sort of open the eyes of other companies in the industry for them to follow suit. And we have seen in the last couple of years, a lot of other companies are now starting to take care of performers a little bit better. So it's working. The plan that we had all along is sort of working and going into motion. So yeah, we're really proud of that. It's something that we're all really proud of at Pop-Up.
That's one that sounds, it sounds wonderful. It sounds like a really amazing thing that you're doing. But what about those other companies then that do similar things to what Pop-Up do? And they might sit there and listen into this and they go, but the cost of that, that's all an additional cost that I'm not going to see a monetary return on.
But this is the issue. So a lot of the time, so this is in two parts. Half of it is there is no cost to it. There's no cost in caring about people and actually being invested in them and who they are and their needs and their what makes them happy. That part's free. I think sometimes this industry can be quite cutthroat unnecessarily. You can be in a room with, I don't know, for example, I've been in rooms with choreographers and they just make you feel this big and there's no need for it. It's unnecessary. It's free to be not nice, but it's also free to be nice. And I'm not saying wrap people in bubble wrap. Obviously, you've got a job to do and you're here to work. And if things aren't right, you know, we do what we do need to do to make it work. But I think there's a difference between niceness and kindness. And sometimes you've got to say what you need to say to still be kind. So it's about doing everything with kindness. So that's the first part of it. A lot of it is free, just being kind to people. The second part is what investment we do make, which is a lot. We invest a lot into our teams, actually saves us money in the long run in a commercial perspective, because we have never had to replace anybody on our cruise contracts ever. I don't know if you know a lot, but retention on ships can be quite a big turnover because things happen, someone breaks an arm, whatever, or someone's not happy, so they choose to leave. We've never come across that because we look after people, so they want to stay. And then what we find is a lot of performers that work for us are performers that have worked for us for 7, 8 years. They always want to come back to us. So in making that investment in looking after people, we retain the very best performers. We've got performers that are in Hamilton on the West End, they're across the world on cruise lines, they're in tours. But whenever they have a break from those big contracts, they will always get in touch with us. Do you have any events that I can do between X, Y, and Z because I really want to come back and work for you? And I think that speaks volumes to us, that's the result. And I think the minute that companies kind of see the value in just being kind, like it's just a normal, nice thing to do. And a lot of industries are like that. The performance industry isn't generally, but also the value in actually the investment. Because there's definitely a return on it. And that return is that performers want to work with us, which is a blessing, really.
I think you've got a grasp on the positivity and negativity and how that works for business. And when you're positive and your vibe is positive, you attract and people want to stay with you. And when you're
100%.
negative, it repels, doesn't it? And people want to leave. And so
100%. Oh, go on.
the more you embrace that, the more people want to come to you. The more
Yeah.
people want to stay with you.
And you know what? That's something that I live by in my general life anyway. I'm such a big believer in if you put good out into the world, good comes back to you. And I guess that's just exactly how we run Pop-Up in exactly the same way.
Yeah. But what a good ethos you have. What a good
Yeah,
philosophy
I agree.
to run.
And I'm really, really proud to be part of the team here. I think I've really got myself into a role that I love. I love my job. I love the company, but it's such a great place to work and be a part of. So yeah, proud of us.
Good. That's amazing to hear. That really is nice. So tell me a little bit about so you said that you're creating these pitches to go to these companies. What is your creative process there? What does that look like?
So the process for us is a client generally will come to us, whether that's in sort of directly or through an RFP or tender process, which I don't know if you know anything about, but it's basically procurement led. So we either are in contact with the client, the person that we'll work with directly, or the procurement team, which can be a bit more of a difficult process, but I won't get into that. They come to us with a brief. Sometimes that brief can be really detailed. They know exactly what they want. Sometimes it can be really, really open-ended. We've got this event that we're doing and we have no idea what entertainment we want, but it's on this day and this is the budget and this is the audience. But whatever information we get, we basically take all that information, we go away and come up with a concept that would be right for them. I think what's really important and what we do, which is I guess a lot of companies do this, but something that we really care about is making sure that it's individualized for that client and their audience. Sometimes I think the audience can be something that is not thought about, which is strange. That's who it's for. But sometimes a client might come to us and say, we want to do this and it's going to be amazing and we want it to be never before seen. And sometimes you have to backpedal and be like, but is that what do your audience want never before seen? Is that what they want? Or do they want nostalgia? Or do they want tradition? Or do they want something new? Or do they want something modern or contemporary or whatever it might be? So we kind of create ideas that from our knowledge of the industry and from our experience that we feel is the right thing for them. So the creative process, it all depends on what it is. Sometimes it can be sort of internal. Sometimes we bring in other creatives to consult with us on different ideas. Sometimes we work alongside other suppliers for things. I think it's always important. I actually learned this recently. We were working with a business mentor called Aaron, who was amazing. And this has really, really stuck with me. One of the things that we spoke about, he always says, not how, but who. And I think it's really important to not think, oh, we can do everything. We've got the best ideas. We'll be amazing for this and we'll be great. It's not always about that. It's about working with the right people so that you can provide the very, very best standard. And I also think
you're collaborating, aren't you? You've got to.
And I think
these things you work as a team, don't you? You work on something together.
Exactly. And I think there should be no shame in working alongside other companies in the same way that you would your own team, because they can probably bring something to the table that you can't. And it's not about being the best at everything. It's about being the best at what you do and working alongside others that are the best at what they do to create the very best thing possible. And I think there's also a lot of power in saying no. So Pop-Up's 10 years old now. I've been with Pop-Up for 8 years or 7 years this year. 7 or 8 years, a long time. A long time. And
it's good that you're not counting. That's a good sign that you're.
I'll celebrate the 10 whenever that is. But there's obviously a lot of growth has happened in that time. The business has completely changed since I started. It's completely different to what it was when I was first here. And when you're a growing business, you say yes to everything. You say yes to everything, even if it doesn't fall in line with what your big goals are or your vision, because you know what, we're growing, we've got to do it, we've just got to do these things. We're in a really privileged position now that we have grown a lot over the last few years. We've got amazing clients that we work with that trust us and we trust them. And now if things come to us that just aren't us or we can't do and somebody could do better, or it's just not in line with who we are, we graciously say no. And I think that's something that hasn't always been the case, but it's quite nice to be in that position now. And it's also great because it means that you can pass on opportunities that maybe aren't right for you. Like last year we got approached to do a contract with a specific client and we looked at it and we were like, do you know what, I don't think this kind of falls in line with us, but I'm going to put you in touch with this company because I think they would be perfect for it. That company then went on to win it, and now they've gone live with that contract. And I think that's really, really great, because a couple of years ago, we probably would have just gone, yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it. It's fine. We'll do
They're
it.
so eager for the business
Yeah,
that you're not concentrating whether the business is right for you. But that is
exactly.
a really tough one to understand for business, isn't it? That is really tough to go, oh, there's money over there, there's a job there, but it's not right. It doesn't
Yeah.
fit. But then also understanding that alignment. How do you, is it a set of principles, or is it something to do with outside of your reach, or just simply not who you are? How do you
It,
decide the alignment is correct?
so we all sat down as a team and we talked about our values, our vision, our goals. And every year at the beginning of the year, we do a press release.
Mhm.
So that press release is basically looks into the future of 2 years and what we would imagine a press release about pop-up would say. So how theatrical of us, by the way, that we do that. I've just
Yeah,
thought it's a very thing to do. But in that, we sort of, set where we see this business going, and it's something that we do as a team. It's not something that Amy, who's the boss, dictates to everybody. We all do it together. Where do we all see this business going? Where do we see that we sit? What will performers say about us? What will clients say about us? And we use that as kind of a guide. We come back to it regularly and, change things, adjust things to where we're at. But I think that really helps us. And I think when we get a decision where we're like sort of on the fence, is this right for us? Is it not? We go back to that press release and we go back to the vision
Mhm.
and we make a decision together. Do you know what? At this time, I don't think that that's where we sit right now. Or I think this, but then also sometimes it can be, do you know what, this actually isn't, we aren't the right people for this. And I think that takes a lot of
Takes a lot of
bravery, I
courage.
guess, to do
Yeah.
that, because you're turning down work, but ultimately we pride ourselves on our standard. So if it's going to be something that's out of our remit that we can't do, a couple of years ago, we probably, and I'm a big believer in say yes, figure it out later, 100%. I wouldn't be sat here today if that wasn't my mantra. But then at the same time, you don't want to do that at the expense of quality.
Mm.
So sometimes it comes down to that, but a lot of the time it's about the vision and where we see ourselves and our goals and what we want to achieve in this industry.
Mm. Yeah, that future vision really does help move people forward. Having a
Mhm.
future goal. A lot of people have talked to me recently about having a vision of a mountain that you climb, and what the top of that mountain, your idea of what the top of that mountain looks like is quite important to visualize. Where is it you're heading? And maybe the path might deviate slightly from the plan that you originally come up with, but you need to figure out a path of how to get there.
100%, because what you don't want to do is something comes up that isn't part of that climb,
Mhm.
but you go, well, I'll just do it anyway. But all that does is take you around that mountain
Yeah,
over
or
and
so you
over. You've got,
or on a back step. You
yeah.
By doing something that's not of the standard that you would like to do, that could
Mm,
take you back. That could take you down the mountain, and that might
exactly.
mean you have to start all over again.
Which nobody wants. And but it's the same for performers as well.
Mm,
It's the exact same. It's understanding where you see yourself and just working towards that goal, that peak, whatever that peak is for you.
yes. So I want to go back to something you touched on that's really quite interesting. Is you touched on the audience first.
Mhm.
Now that's a really interesting concept because I've been in the creative stuff that I do. I started out, I do a lot of theatre, and I started out with that idea. I had that idea, or whatever I'm producing, I'm considering what does the audience want to see. But for me, I didn't feel like that was working, and I changed my perspective for what I do. So why do you go with audience first?
The reason why is because, well, I think there's also a point to be made that sometimes the audience don't know what they want until they've got it. So I think
Yeah,
that's important to
that's why
remember.
I had to change for me, because I'm
Yeah,
realizing that you can just churn out the same stuff that's been working. And if you look at like the film industry at the moment, and you look at, I don't know if you what you know about the Marvel, I'm into superheroes and things, but they are clearly concentrating too much on what the audience wants, and it's not going well. It's not working anymore for them.
because there's nothing new.
there's nothing new, so they're just churning out the same stuff. And as the audience, we're going, no, we don't want this.
Yeah.
You're telling us what we want, but we don't want that. We did want that, but we don't want it anymore.
I think what I mean when I say about thinking about thinking of the audience, it's not about just doing the same old, what they've always had. For example, we work in the retail space quite regularly, and retail entertainment can, there he is,
There you go.
can often be, so for example, it's half term or summer, and a mall or shopping centre will go, let's do crafts, because that's what we've done every single half term for the last 10 years. And everyone always comes and they love it and it's great. But actually, like you've just said, the audience don't want crafts anymore. There's so much, everybody can see everything that they want in the world on the phone. So there's so much more access to what else is going on that they want more. But it's about, when I say think about your audience, it's think of them. So when you're planning your half term activation in the mall and you're thinking, let's do something with entertainment, who is your demographic? Why are they there? And what do they want? So in half term in a mall, it's probably mum taking the kids out for the day. She wants a relatively cheap day out. She wants the kids to be there for as long as possible. She wants to be able to give them what they want for a couple of hours so that she can then go to Zara and go shopping, and they'll be quiet, and she can threaten them, well, we're not going back to so and so if you don't. And you've got to think about them. So what's going to engage that audience? Is it crafts? Will kids sit there for half an hour and do crafts? Some of them might do, not to be generalizing here, but I imagine a lot of little girls will sit there and colour for hours and hours on end, but it's not everybody. Also, mum's there as well. So as much as you're entertaining the kid, mum doesn't want to be stood there, bored out of her mind for 20 minutes, watching whatever it is. You've got to think about her too. And then grandma might be there as well. So you've got to think about her. But then you also don't want to exclude the rest of your shoppers, because it's not just mums and kids there, and dads and whoever, it's other people as well. So that's what I mean about thinking about your audience. I think sometimes it can be easy to do what's been done before many, many times because it works. So if it don't broke, don't fix it. It ain't broke, sorry. But what do they want and what do they need? As a client, you're investing money into whatever that activation or entertainment is going to be. For it to have value, you have to think about who's watching it, because otherwise you might be throwing money at something that just is a waste of money. You might as well not do anything because it's not going to have the impact that you want. So that's what I mean by thinking about your audience, considering who they are, what they need, what they want, and giving them something, even if they don't know they want it yet, that is going to tick all those boxes for them.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. And I think sometimes as creators, when we think of one way that these things aren't working for us and we go to the other, I've started to go to the other extreme. You're kind of helping me come back on track through this conversation, that maybe maybe it's not just a case of doing the same old, but it's a case of just taking a moment to go, what does the world look like right now? Where is the world right now? What is it that the mums and the kids want and the dads, and what do the people want right now?
What do the people want?
Yeah.
But
And
also, it's important to remember we're the people as well. What do we want?
yeah.
We're the audience as much as anybody else.
Well, that's
And
kind of how I've started to take this, doing these conversations, is I look at this and I speak to you as if I'm the audience. And as the audience, what do I want to find out more? What do I
yeah,
want to see
what do you
more
care
of?
about?
What do I care about? And then hopefully there's other people maybe that are similar to me that might want to come along for the ride.
Exactly. We're all just people.
We're all just
Ultimately.
people. Yeah. Going along for this ride. And I guess it's figuring out who wants to join us along that ride
Exactly.
in the journey. So where did this journey start for you then? So we've talked about you being a performer.
Mhm.
How do you go from being a performer to a business development director? It sounds like quite a leap. It sounds like quite a career change, but in what you've been telling me, you're very creative and you're in the right place. But where did this start? You started as a singer, a professional singer, I understand?
Yes. So I was a singer. I worked on cruise ships and I was on a contract, and Amy, who owns the business, came to visit her friends that were in my team on the ship. So I briefly met Amy on a 1 week cruise in the Caribbean at some point, briefly. And then when we met, my friends who I was in the cast with were like, oh, Amy runs her own business. She does princess parties. She's Elsa. So at the time, Amy was Elsa, and that's what she was doing. Oh, the Snow Queen. I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
Yeah, we're not. Don't worry.
So anyway, I met Amy briefly, very, very briefly. But then after that, I followed her on Facebook and Instagram. And I kind of was like, oh, this could be interesting. So then when it came to the end of that contract, I knew that I didn't want to, or I wanted a break from sea at least. So I messaged Amy, hey, I'd love to be Princess Belle. Let me know. And I basically harassed her until she gave me a job as a performer. So she started a band and I ended up being part of that band as a performer. So I was working for Amy for a couple of months just as a performer. And we were going to a recording studio. I was fully dressed as Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, just to put that into perspective. And we were in her car and I was like, have you ever thought about having a PA? And she was like, no, not really. I was like, I think you should. And I think it should be me. And she was like, right, okay, well, leave it with me. Anyway, I left it with her and harassed her and harassed her and harassed her until in the end, she was like, fine, you can come work for me part-time as my PA. I just had this sense that she was going somewhere with it. I would never be able to put it into words, but when I met her, I just had this feeling that Pop-Up was going somewhere. I didn't know where that somewhere was, but I was like, I want a piece of it. I want to be part of it. So she gave me a job as a PA, and I were doing that, and I was making it up as I went along because I'd never done anything like that before, but I just faked it till I made it.
Say yes and figure it out as you go along. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I started working full time. So then I was working for a full time alongside her. And it was just the two of us. And then the business. So when I went full time, we did our first ever sort of proper event. Before that, it was a lot of small scale family events and princess parties. That was a lot of what we did. And then we won our first contract with the Trafford Centre, and we did a parade for 20,000 people with a cast of 60. And that was like our first big break. And we were so stressed and so excited. And the pride that I felt that day was just unbelievable. And we kind of just grew from there. So my role, really, we were both doing everything. There was not, we didn't have like, obviously Amy was the boss, but there was no like, your job is to do this. It was very much just what needs to be done. We'll both do it. We'll figure it out. And that's kind of how it worked for a couple
back
of years.
to what you said earlier, not how, but who, where
Yeah.
you're collaborating and you're making them together.
It was very much like that. It was like we just did everything that needed to be done. We both did it together, and it was great. But then we started to grow, so that isn't sustainable as you start to grow. So then Dan joined the team. So Dan's now our operations director, but he joined at the time to lead just our cruise division. And then my kind of job was everything else. So I continued to do what I do, but didn't focus on the cruise side. That was Dan's role. Then Shelley joined us. She started off doing sort of administration and taking the load off both of us because we were juggling. Then she became head of casting. And then my role became the beginning of the end of last year. I was still working on delivery and sort of growth, whereas now my role is just focused on growth. I've got Fran that works alongside me. So that's kind of how I got to where I am. Obviously, there's a
big
7-year timeline of that, but I think it was just we sort of just grew organically. Obviously, COVID was, stopped everyone in their tracks really. But actually, so just prior to COVID, we won our first contract with Fred Olsen, which was supposed to go live in 2020, but there was a pause on that. During COVID, we won our second ship with Fred Olsen. So that was amazing. And also during lockdown, we didn't sit on our laurels. We kind of kept relevant. We started doing this thing called Quarantunes, where all of our performers would film these videos, like lip sync videos. It was kept us all busy. But also, we really adapted what we did. So we did the first socially distanced festival in the UK. We did the entertainment for that. We did the first drive-in show in Manchester. We did that at near Trafford, actually. We did, I think, the only drive-in pantomime that year. We did as much as we could to adapt what we already did, but make it work in COVID. And that year, despite everything, was the year that I think sort of changed pop-up into what it is today. It was where we kind of started to see real growth and expansion. And yeah, I think we positioned ourselves exactly where we wanted to be at that time in the industry, and it's just grown organically from there. So that is how I got to where I am, and just being really great at convincing clients to book stuff.
Where do you think that comes from then? That being able to be good with the clients and understanding their needs and convincing them of that you know what you're talking about.
A combination of a few things. First of all, being a performer that you can put on a show. When I speak to clients, sometimes it is like I'm doing a show. And Amy afterwards is like, gosh, you're a lot. Like, well, just into it. So there's that. I think it's being authentic. So genuinely, I really care about what we do and I love what we do. So then when somebody comes to us and I love the idea, I don't even have to, it's not putting on a show. I genuinely am really excited about it. And I think that being genuine, being yourself, actually caring about a client and their audience, it has a really positive, that'd have a positive impact on anybody. If someone was speaking to you about a top that you think that you'd look great in and they would really genuinely meant it, you'd be like, I am going to buy this top in every color. So there's that. And also, my mother is a hairdresser. I grew up in a salon environment and watched my mum deal with people from every background, every walk of life, be friends with a lot of them. She worked for herself, but she was constantly dealing with clients, obviously in a very different way. Did he want a perm or did he want to cut and blow dry, whatever. But growing up around her and watching how she interacted with people and being in that environment, I was in that salon all the time growing up. I actually think that probably has rubbed off a bit as well, because she would
to people, adapting and changing to different people's needs and wants, and
exactly. And she was like her chameleon. She was always herself, but she was also like a chameleon. She knew exactly what everyone needed when they were sat in that chair. And I think that's maybe rubbed off on me. Maybe it's just part of who I am because of my mum. I don't know, but yeah, I would say that's definitely a part of it.
And it sounds like that's a part of what's made global successful, is that we go back to that time in COVID, that you adapted and that you changed and that you didn't stay exactly where you was and everything, the business had to stay exactly as it was. You changed with the circumstances of the world and you adapted and you found something new that when the world opened up again, you was also something new.
Yeah, 100%. And I have to give credit where credit's due to Amy. Amy is really, really good at taking a step out, looking at the business from a distance and deciding when the right time to pivot is. And we've done it a few times. COVID isn't the first. It hasn't been the most recent. It won't be the last. As a leader, she is really, really good at understanding what her business and her people need. And that was just one of those occasions where she's like, right, we need a change. There's something that needs to change here. And there's been a couple of times that she's done that with pop-up. She's got a really good gut instinct. I don't know where it comes from. But each time it's always worked out exactly how it should have done. So I think I have to give credit to Amy for that. She's sort of the mastermind behind pop-up as a whole.
Yes, because and that's a big thing, to take something like this from princess parties to cruise ships and large scale entertainment.
Yeah, it is. It's wild. Sometimes I can be working on a pitch, or we can be delivering an event, or I can be in a boardroom with some of the most important people of a multi-billion pound business, and you're in the moment and you're getting on with it, and it's afterwards that you're like, I can't believe that we're doing this. I can't believe these people listen to me. But that's imposter syndrome at its best, isn't it? But we know what we talk about because we care about what we talk about. So it's, yeah, it is weird when I think that I was literally brought in to help Amy with princess parties. That was what my role was. You are going to assist me in princess parties.
From talking through this with you, and I don't know you before this conversation, but you clearly are in the place that you're meant to be. This sounds like you're in the perfect place. Is that what it feels like to you? You're nodding along, going yes.
It's true. It's 100%. And do you know what? Everyone always says, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. But it is so true. Like 100% so true. I didn't go into this industry to make money. I wanted to be a singer. So I wasn't thinking, I'm going to be the next Beyonce. I just wanted to sing. And I think it's so important to follow your dream within reason. Obviously, ultimately, we all have to make a living at the end of the day. We've got bills to pay. But I'm just really lucky that that dream has taken me to somewhere that I love. I love my job. Anybody that knows me will tell you how much I live and breathe what I do. I love it so much. I'm so lucky to work with people that I genuinely care about and love, and to do something that I'm passionate about. And yeah, at 100%, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Definitely.
Wonderful. So tell me have you got any idea where that imposter syndrome comes from? Because
everyone has it, don't they?
But I had it this morning in the shower. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then I do the thing and I do know what I'm doing. But
Yeah.
I have this little voice in my head that pops up every now and again that tells me I don't know anything. and I wonder where it comes from.
It's just normal, I think, for everybody to have a moment where they're like, hold on, these people know so much more than I do. Or a great example is being in the audition room. That person's so much of a better dancer than me, and she's prettier than me, and she's taller than me, and she can sing better than me. And
over evaluating the situation? Are we, because we care so much, we're looking at all the different angles, and then all of a sudden it's overwhelming when you look at it.
Probably. I also think it's care. It's if you really care about something. Like, I have always wished that I could be one of those people who doesn't care that much, because I think people like that who just walk through life like they don't care if people like them, or they don't care if whoever in that room believes that they're the right person to be talking about X, Y, and Z. They're just not bothered. They just don't care. I am an irate person by nature, so I really care. So I think it comes from a lot of that. But I also think it's so not everybody at some point suffers with imposter syndrome in some part of the life, whether it's work, whether it's the personal life, whether it's relationships, whether it's, I don't know, the car they drive. Everybody does. And I think it's just about being able to say to yourself, no, stop it. Like, you can do this. Like, you're supposed to be here. And just giving yourself a telling off, really, and getting on with it.
Yeah, that's what you have to do. That's right. You have to say to yourself, no, you're wrong. It's almost like you have to have two voices. You have to, if that voice comes in of the negative, the positive voice has to come in to battle it and to figure it out and to help you keep moving forward.
I agree.
So moving forward then, where is the future for you and Pop Up Global? Because you're clearly both going to be going somewhere together. What does that look like?
What does it look like? I mean, we've got so much that's going on at the minute that I can't talk about. But it's looking like this year is going to be really pivotal for us, which is super exciting. We've done a lot of hard work behind the scenes over the last sort of 6 months that's sort of led us to this point, which I can't talk about, but anyway. So that's really, really exciting. I think the big goal for us, we don't want to be industry giants. We don't want to have hundreds and hundreds of contracts around the world and take over the entertainment industry. That's not what we want. There's enough room for all of us here. What we want to do is work with, going back to the press release that we did, work with specific clients that we have outlined that are aligned with us, that we can provide amazing opportunities for performers and create amazing entertainment for clients and for audiences. And that's our dream. It's not about quantity for us, it's about quality. So that's what our goal is.
And what about you personally? What's your own personal dreams for the future?
What are my own personal dreams for the future? To continue growing this business to where we want it to be, to grow the team, to have more people that are like our management team that love doing what they do and have a great time at work every day. And to be happy. That's what everyone wants, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm
That's
pretty
really
much living the dream as it is, but to continue doing that would be great.
wonderful. Yeah, what a nice place to be.
Yeah.
So what advice would you, let's we're coming to the end of this now, to wrap this up for anyone. I think a lot of people that listen to these are people that are seeking a bit of advice, a bit of wisdom from other people that have been there, other performers that are looking to move out of the performance space into business. If you could go back to those early days of you making that change, what advice would you give to yourself?
Be ballsy. I think I was ballsy. I pushed to have a job that didn't even exist. And I pushed for that job to be created because I knew that there was a good opportunity in it for me personally, but I also could see the value that I could bring to somebody else. So I think be ballsy. Ask if you work for a company now as a performer and you think, you know what, I think I would be really, really good at being a musical director for this company. I think I'd be a great assistant choreographer, or I'd love to be part of the costume department because I've been so in whatever it might be. Pick up the phone, have the conversation, go to the office, pester. That's the thing as well. It makes me laugh now when I look back. Of course, I pestered Amy until she gave me a job because that's literally what my job is now. That's what I do all day, every day. I pester them all day, every day until they get back to me because that's my job is in sales. So I understand now looking back why I was like that because that's just who I am. But I think just be ballsy, ask the question, because if you don't ask, you'll never know. And it might be that there's no opportunity for you there, and that's fine. So then you look back at your mountain, you figure out what other path you're going to take to go up there. But if you don't ask, you don't get. And if you don't try, you'll never know. And also another thing is, and I think this is so important, never ever burn bridges, ever, because you never ever know when an opportunity could arise. Prior to me getting this job, on my one of my cruise contracts I was on, there were a couple of people in the team that were horrible. They were just awful to work with, which is fine. And I kind of just got on with it. I was like, whatever, I'm here for a short time. It's not the end of the world. I had people around me that were amazing. So I sort of got on with it. Afterwards, when I started working for Pop-Up and I got the job that I've got now, all of those people at some point have reached out to me. I'd love to work for Pop-Up. It'd be amazing. Absolutely not, because you burnt the bridge. And it's not a case of being like, awful. In fact, some of them I actually have ended up working with. We have sort of rekindled and it's been nice. But it's about that bridge. You never, ever know when an opportunity could come. So any company that you work for, you might have a bad experience on board with the team, for example, or you might have, I don't know, something that you just don't like about it. You didn't like this particular show, or you were upset because a solo got taken off you, or whatever it might be. Just remember, you never know. You might one day apply for a job to be an assistant choreographer or something in the office. And you might really want that job because actually when you're taking yourself out of the situation, it wasn't really that bad after all. And, you can understand why they made that decision or whatever it might be. Never burn that bridge because you just never, ever know. And it's things like now I'm working with people because the performance industry is small. And I can work alongside people who were performers whilst I was a performer. They were just in a different team or they were on a different ship. But that Dubai flies are crazy. That circle is small. So now went to an expo 2 weeks ago. I saw 3 people that I knew from the industry back then when I was a performer that now have jobs like mine. So it's like never ever burning that bridge because you literally never know. You might be sat next to them at a networking event or you might need someone for a favor. whatever. I think that's really important as well.
What I'm starting to discover is that every connection you make is important. Every connection, every single one is going to come back in some way, shape, or form. And if you want things to work out for you, if you want to keep moving forward, then you have to make the best of those connections.
Yeah, 100%. And like, don't get me wrong, you'll come across people who you think to yourself, I absolutely don't ever want to work with that person ever, which is fine.
You don't align. You don't align with everyone.
Fine. And that's absolutely fine. But I think it's important to still keep a level of sort of professionalism when it comes to that. And I think especially when you're a performer and when you're in a team, it can be so hard to not get swept into the drama. I know, because I've been there. It's so hard, and it's like Love Island or Big Brother. It's like so intense, and it's so easy to get caught up in whatever it might be. Take a step out of it. This is just a contract. Dan, who I work with, always says, we're just singing and dancing. It's not heart surgery. Just enjoy it. Don't take it as seriously. It's not forever. You'll go into the next contract soon, or whatever it might be. Enjoy it, because one day you won't be on stage anymore because you'll decide to move career or do whatever. So yeah, I think be ballsy, don't burn bridges, and just have fun.
Wonderful. What a lovely note to end this on. Ballsy, don't burn bridges, and have fun.
Amen.
We'll preach that.
We will.
Thank you so much for joining me this morning, Laura.
Thank you for having me.
I hope if anyone listens to this, I hope your colleague and your boss, Amy, listens to this, because I think she'll be proud of the journey that you've been on and proud of you this morning. And I really do appreciate you joining me. And if anyone has been watching or listening, we appreciate you for joining us as well for this conversation.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
It was wonderful. Thank you.
Speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.